Hello there in video land. Let's get our radio guys going. It looks like we're all rocking and rolling here, and we got to move on. That's right. We're moving on from 10 years of a liberal government. Look who I got in the studio today. The one and only Chris Rigas. And Chris owns the Fire Hall restaurant in Niagara Lake.
Yes, I do.
And not only that, don't let this out. I'm going to tell a big secret. Pierre Poliev, yeah, I can never say that right. PP, I call him, has been in his restaurant for lunch before.
Yes, he has.
And Chris had a great chance to talk to him.
Yes, I did.
And we're going to talk about that today on Your City, Your Voice. My name is Paul K. Lemire, Chris Rigas, 4680Q Radio, downtown Niagara Falls, Ontario, Canada, of course. And we're coming to you live on the radio, 4680q.com. It'll be videoed. You can watch the video on YouTube later on in the afternoon. Usually I drop it around 3 o'clock. It gets on. Very important show today. Of course, we encourage everybody, no matter who you're going to vote for, to get out and vote on Monday. We have one short weekend to get this thing together and put it to bed. So this is it, Chris.
We're in the final stretch here.
We're at the short strokes here.
That's it.
And today we're just going to talk about the election in general and give our views, give some predictions and that kind of thing. But first, we have to get to our sponsors. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. Excuse me, every time I get in the studio. This is what I have to do every morning. You know that?
Yep.
Every morning I get in here and I have to have a drink of water right away. And I don't know why. And Hamill Machine Company, our other great sponsor. We love our sponsors. Support them. And even though we have the election coming up on Monday, you want to make sure your car is running good on Monday. So what do? You take it down to see Ken Hunter at Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. Get your free spring checkup. That's right. He's going to check your car, top to bottom, front to back. Make sure everything's working right. Make sure your brakes are good. Everything's safe. And he's going to get you on the road for the summer. You're not going to have to break down and have to listen to your wife and kids crying because your car broke down and you never took it in. Be smart. Be proactive. And if you get in a wreck, he said, he has a full body shop. Take your car in. Wrecked. Comes out in showroom condition. You're going to be happy. Kid's going to be happy. Dog's going to be happy. Wife's going to be happy. I'm going to be happy. Chris is good. Everybody's going to be happy.
And Ken's going to be happy.
Yeah, because he was able to help you. Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop. Oakwood Drive next to the Kia dealership. Support our sponsors because they support the show and the city. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. You'll get notifications when I drop another show like this one today. This is a do not miss show. And yeah, you'll be all set. We thank you for your support. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for everything. Let's get into it, Chris. Let's get into it. Finally, yeah. Friday, with only the weekend separating us from Election Day. And I would call this, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, but probably one of the most important elections in our lifetime anyway.
For sure. For my lifetime, 100% is the most important one. I'm sure there were other ones, historically that were important for us, but this one is very, very, very important.
I mean, we look at what happened down south, right? 4 years of Biden. Trump comes in, he's straightening things out now. There was a major move towards change because people were tired of what they were dealing with. And I get the feeling in Canada, we're gonna see the same resolve from the Canadian people. They want something different after 10 years of abuse by the Liberals. High taxes, high inflation, crazy giveaways of money to foreign countries while we have homeless and people on the streets in Canada who can't afford to buy housing, can't afford to live, they can't afford food. Food banks are overrun with people who just can't afford to live anymore because of bad policy. And I just get the feeling that Canada's on the right track here with their choice. And I think people are gonna make a move one way. And I think it's time. It's due.
Well, the Liberals aren't offering anything new. I mean, they're offering more of the same. Another $200 billion in deficits that are going to cause more inflation. They're going to cause more problems for the people who are low to middle income. I mean, what else? There's nothing really else to say right other than that, right there, that is the number one issue for the majority of people in this country, right? So, and I know what the polls say. The polls are saying this or that, and we do have some polling problems in the upper segment of the population. We have 55 plus, 55 plus women to be more specific, but 55 plus men too, as well. And they're letting their hatred for the guy down south dictate what they're doing here, because they believe somehow that we're going to become part of the U.S. and that Carney somehow is going to be able to stop that. Carney's the biggest threat to the Canadian sovereignty in that respect. He'll sell us out because he's a business guy. He's a banker. Bankers don't care about borders. They really don't care. They couldn't care less about a border or your nationality or anything. All they care about is what the dollar is. The dollar all has the same value, right? That's it. So they're only interested in feeding their banker buddies, and that's about it. This guy here, Carney, you're going to look at Brookfield. He says he's going to invest. I don't know what it was. It was like 75 billion in homes. Well, all that money's going to go to Brookfield, building modular homes. Your kids and your grandkids are going to be living in like what was communist row housing in the Soviet Union. Is this what you want for your kids and grandkids? I'm talking now to the older segment of the population, our seniors, who have their houses paid off, they have their pensions, they have everything good. Do you hate your children and grandchildren that much that you would ignore the dumpster fire in your backyard just to throw a rock at your neighbor?
Well, that's a lot of this election. It's about where we're going as a country in the future, because at this point, we're not going to be affected by what happens on Monday. But it's going to trickle down to our kids. Now, you're younger. You might. I'm probably not going to be here when what hits the fan. But ultimately, what do you want for your kids and your grandkids? That's what we're looking at here. And the Liberals have given you 10 years. And I'm not touting the Conservatives as much as I'm just saying, you have to use common sense. You have to vote wisely, not just for today. Like for me, the Liberals are great. I should be voting Liberal because they're going to give me more money for free. They want to give money to everybody for free and break the country. That benefits me now. But what about the future generations? Where are they going to be? How are they going to get jobs? How are they going to buy homes? Well, yeah, they're going to live in a modular home that Carney builds, his company builds. That's, it's just.
So it won't benefit you.
We got to get rid of them. No, it isn't.
No, but it won't benefit you now, though. So in 2 to 3 short years, so if they take on this debt, if they add this debt on over the next 3 years or 4 years, within 2 years after that, you'll start to see the effects of that. So you're talking about a 6-year, because what happens is it takes time for that to work its way through the economy. The inflation will come about 2 years after they've finished spending that money. And if they stop, so the effect of that it's 18 months to 2 years afterwards. You'll start to see inflation creep up. You start to see prices creep up, more unemployment, things going south even further. So that's why you can't spend that kind of money on taking on debt, printing that kind of money. And I know the argument out there is that, Canada's GDP to debt to GDP ratio is so low. It's the best in the G7. That may be the case, but why don't we keep it there? Why do we want to match? Just because everybody else is doing stupid crap doesn't mean you have to, right?
Exactly.
So why wouldn't you want to just hold things kind of where they are, spend less money, let's keep the inflation under control, let's try the growth. You got to outgrow your spending, so that way your country has your inflation and your dollar has a chance to stay low. Your dollar gets stronger, your inflation stays low, and you're able to have more purchasing power for your people. That's the way it works. That's why Canada we feel so poor nowadays. Well, at least the bottom, the younger demographics anyway, they feel so poor is because their dollar doesn't go very far. They're working. They've got high rents, they got high water, they got high property taxes, they got high this, high that, and they can't seem to get ahead because their dollar just doesn't buy what it used to buy.
It's purchasing power.
That's it. So when you're purchasing power, that's why GDP per capita is such an important demographic, an important statistic. And everybody wants to ignore. Well, our GDP grew. Yeah, it grew, but GDP per capita did not grow. It actually stayed over 10 years. We're 1.4%, which puts us at the bottom of the OECD. So that gives people less purchasing power. When you have less purchasing power, people are poorer, actually. So if you've had inflation of, let's say, 30% over the 10 years, which is what we've had, basically, but your GDP per capita purchasing power parity has only gone up 1.4%. Guess what? Everybody's 28% poorer, 28.5% poorer.
Yeah, and you see what's happened in the States where, and you hate to go back to America, but it's a great example where the $36 trillion in debt and the amount of taxes they take in on a yearly basis from the citizens don't even cover the interest on that debt.
No, they don't.
So you're in a spiral. You're in a Titanic spiral going to the bottom with Davy Jones at his locker. And unless we can calm it down and cure it right now, we're $1.5 trillion in debt as a country, and we're going deeper with these guys.
Well, so there's that issue there. It's a $230 billion that Carney wants to add to the debt.
Yeah,
and he says it's going to create some GDP growth. He can't evidence that. First of all, when government handles any kind of money, they blow it, and it doesn't create. Just look at Trudeau. I mean, we've doubled the debt. We added $700 billion to our debt, our national debt. And everybody's going to say, oh, it's COVID. Only a portion of that was COVID, right? About half of it was COVID. The rest of it was done outside of COVID, before COVID and after COVID. Last year alone was $62 billion, and they had projected $40 billion. So you're adding all this debt over that time, but your GDP per capita only grew 1.4%. So you got a return on your investment of 1.4% per capita. That doesn't sound too good when you're spending, I don't know, figure out $700 billion divided by 41 million people. Figure that out. Because that's what we've invested to receive a 1.4% return, okay? And it doesn't work. So we have to get out of this mindset. And that's why Pierre is such a good candidate. He's been around. He knows what government has been doing. He sees how it's wrong. He wants them out of your life. This is what Pierre's philosophy is. Government out of your life. He doesn't want to tell you what kind of car to drive. He doesn't want to tell you how much money you should make. He doesn't want to tell you that you need to shut off your fireplace, or he doesn't want to have to give you money for free. He doesn't want to tell you, that you can't do this, or you can't be that, or you can't. He just wants you to make your own decisions. Government is there just to provide services and support their citizens when they need to. They're not there to dictate to you what you should be doing in your life. He wants you to be able to use a plastic straw too, which I'm in agreement with. You know how hard it is to, so those paper straws. Just want to get off on a tangent here. Paper straws are very bad for you. Okay, they're glued together with chemicals, and you're sitting there sucking liquid through this, so you're swallowing it. It's terrible. Anyways, because you got make Mark Carney saying smart remarks about plastic. You know what I mean?
You know what? You're like if you can get a straw to last the whole drink.
Well, there you go.
They dissolve,
right?
They're like,
but so. And Mark Carney, and he's a liar, right? The guy's a liar. He lies about everything. He lied about his call with Trump. He lied about whether or not he was involved in. Anyways, he's been lying. Anyway, I got a whole list of them. I can't remember them. They got out of my head here. But anyways, so the guy's been lying. You can't trust him. If he lied about that call with Trump, okay. Do you think he's not lying about whether or not he's going to bring a carbon tax back, whether or not it's going to have a negative effect, whether or not his economic plan is really the way it's going to go, the way he's painting it? I really don't think he's telling us the truth, right? His record is not very truthful.
Well, I was watching the rally that PP had up in Vaughan. Right, because Gary Wilkins went. Mm-hmm. He was there, and he told me all about it. It was just fantastic. But even in the debate, he said to Carney, were you Trudeau's finance minister or not? And Carney wouldn't say he was.
No,
everybody knows he is.
Yeah.
but he wouldn't admit to it.
Oh, he didn't provide that kind of advice. Well, what the? Hang on a minute. You were his advisor for 10 years, or 6 years. And then in the debate, that's what he lied. There's another one that he lied about. Lied about the Bermuda offshore, lied about the Cayman Islands offshore. There we go. Now it's popping back in my head here. So anyways.
I knew I'd get you going.
There you go. Like, sometimes just they need a little kick in the brain there. So, but, so yeah, right in the debate, and so he says to Carney, were you not? Carney says, I didn't provide that kind of advice to him. Well, if you weren't an economic advisor providing that kind of advice, what exactly were you doing, first of all? And secondly, they're on record. It's on their website. And Pierre points it out right during the debate. It's on their website right now that you were Trudeau's economic advisor. And you didn't provide the economic advice for him for the last 6 years? Is that what you're... So he lied right there on stage.
Can I just stop?
Go for it.
If you did to Canada what he did, would you admit you were the economic advisor?
No, but the problem is you kind of have to admit it because...
Yeah. I
mean, there was announcements made. There were... it was in all over the papers. It was he wrote op-eds. While he was living in Ottawa, he had an apartment in Ottawa when he visited to give Trudeau his economic advice. Every Liberal budget for the last 6 years had his stamp of approval. And even before that, from what I understand, even before that, Trudeau would call him up and consult with him.
Well, they threw him out of England because he was the big thing about Brexit. And then he screwed something up with
that. I don't know exactly what happened over there, but things aren't very good in England right now.
No,
in fact, if you look at their growth, it's kind of mimicking ours, right? I mean, look,
the same governor.
I don't want to give the bank the governor of any bank the credit or that they have anything really to do with the economics other than set interest rates. Interest rates are generally reactive. They see things in the market and they adjust based on that in consultation with the actual guys who do the work, which is the government, the finance minister, and everybody else. But when you are an economic advisor, like for instance, Carney cannot take any credit whatsoever for what happened, how we got through the banking crisis. That was all Stephen Harper and all Jim Flaherty. All Carney had to do was lower interest rates based on the unemployment and everything else, it was a no-brainer, really. Like anybody could have done it. There was no real qualification for getting through that. I mean, that was pretty easy. So, he can't, I don't want to give him any credit for it. So I don't really want to really crush him, although he advises the government of Britain to print money, right? So at that, when he was in the UK, he advised them to take on this.
The ghost of Christmas past.
He advised them to take on this quantitative easing policy. To take on that quantitative easing policy. And so, anyways,
live video.
Live radio.
It's live. We don't cut anything out.
But he advised them, and now they're in the shape that they're in, right?
Yep.
So he advised Trudeau to do the same as his actual economic advisor, not as a Bank of Canada guy at that point, but as his real economic advisor, like he knew what he was talking about. And then and now the UK has a growth problem and an inflation problem the way we have, So not only that, but Carney is also the guy who wants this mass immigration, this whole, because bankers like increased populations always because it generates more money for them. They get to interject in every transaction, right? So it makes them more money. Inflation is good for them too because it inflates their assets, right? Meanwhile, everybody else suffers. They don't care about you. Bankers don't care about you.
No, they don't. They care about the bank.
Mark Carney doesn't see you as a person when he's talking to you. He sees your bank account and what he can grab out of it. It's that simple.
See, and look at see this.
What's that?
Your city, your voice.
There you go.
That's what we talk about, and that's what we're talking about. So anyway. um, Carney is something else. He's a big loser, and really, people tell me that he's the only one that can stand up to Trump.
No, no.
And I laugh my head off. Chris, how can people really believe that?
I don't know how they believe that. I honestly, they've got. Uh, I don't know how they came to this decision.
I don't know.
You know, they
That's his platform.
So I think a lot of it has to do with the media, right? They've kind of been able to portray Pierre as a Canadian Trump. He's not. He's nothing like Trump. He's not even close. Not
No.
even close. So somehow they've put it in their brains, the older generation, that in order to get back at Trump, they need a liberal in office because Pierre's too much like Trump and he'll sell us out. No, Carney will sell us out. What? He's already advised Trudeau on policies that have driven $500 billion of investment out of Canada into the U.S. He moved his own headquarters for his investment fund. For the guy, it's not his investment fund, but he was a chairman of the board. Plus, he was their chief investment guy for a certain portion. I can't remember what the name of the portion of the fund was at this time. Does it really? It's not popping in my head. But he was their guy. He lobbied the Canadian government for I think it was $40 billion for the Canadian Pension Fund to invest with in a specific fund with Brookfield. Like while he was Trudeau's economic advisor, by the way, which is a conflict, he lobbied them for another $10 billion on something else. He went over to China and I mean, the Chinese, they're interfering on his behalf. They want this guy as the prime minister. Oh. Why? Why do the Chinese? Why are they so interested all of a sudden? They hated Canada. They hated Trudeau. They hated Canada. They had a problem with us because we were kind of close with our U.S. guys. And then all of a sudden now they're trying to interject. And they're trying to, because they see that it's an opportunity for them to enter into the North American security apparatus, and they want to break that up. You understand? It weakens the U.S. if they are able to do that. And we, I mean, you know, our older generation is saying that's a good thing. I don't understand. So we're going to trade the U.S. for China? Does that make any sense to anybody?
No.
And
especially now,
I don't understand. And the Chinese are openly calling for more cooperation. I'm sorry, but if I've got a choice to cooperate with someone, I want to cooperate with the democratic country right next to us that has the largest economy on the earth. I don't want to cooperate with the social, what do they call it, credit score system, communist government in China.
Yeah,
you know, it's for me, it's a no-brainer, right? But like I said, Pierre's overall philosophy is get out of people's lives, get out of their way, let them do what they need to do, make their own decisions, make their own investments and benefits. The government isn't there to provide everything for you. You know, he'll take care of the things that government's supposed to deliver: healthcare, put the guys in jail, control our borders, that sort of thing. The government responsibility stuff. But he wants to get out of you. He doesn't want to tell you what kind of car to drive. He doesn't want to tell you what kind of gas to put in your car. He doesn't want to tell you that, yeah, you need, you can only take 3 flights a year, or that he wants to put the jet fuel, wants to convert them into the biofuel and have your airline tickets go up by 50%. So he wants you to be able to travel. He wants you to do those things. He wants you to have a good life free from government. Free from government. That's what everybody wants. You just want to mind your own business and do your own thing. You're going to pay your tax and you're going to get your services and you want to do your own thing. That's what Pierre wants. Carney wants to be able to dictate to you what you should be doing.
Yeah, well, that's what Ronald Reagan said. The scariest day in your life is when somebody from the government comes up and says, I'm here to help you.
Yeah, no, exactly. You know, I don't understand.
So we're going to talk a little bit about the local election here, seeing as we have one short weekend before everybody goes to vote. I already voted, by the way, so... But we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I'm going to get to my second sponsor, Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. If you guys want a good pizza, just give Pete's a call. Down on Victoria Avenue, they're going to make you up a fantastic pizza. They use the Mancini family recipe for their sauce and their crust. Unbelievable. Been around for 40 years. That says a lot about the Mancini family recipes. Now, Mike down there at Pete's Pizza, he knows how to make a pizza. He knows how to put it together because the sauce and cheese have to be right. The cheese is Saputo, mozzarella, and brick cheese all mixed up. Fantastic. You're not going to get a better pizza in town. Anyway, that's my favorite pizza. That's my go-to right now. I don't even go anywhere else. That's my guy. They have a full menu. Great chicken wings. They have panzerotti. They have all kinds of different poutines. You're not going to go hungry. Let me put it that way. Some people don't like pizza, Chris. I don't know who.
I've never met anybody who doesn't
It's
like
my
it.
staple.
It's good.
But if they get rid of pizza, the liberals, I'm done.
They're going to tax. Trudeau had floated the idea of taxing wood-fired ovens, right?
Yeah, there you go.
And, well, they do.
Carbon tax.
Yeah, the carbon tax, and then also your backyard carbon, your fireplaces.
Yeah, well, you never know, right? So if you want a good pizza, just dial 905-374-2222. They're going to get you a nice pizza, hot with fresh ingredients on it. Fantastic pizza. You can also go to their website, pizzavictoria.ca, and order off the website. They do Dash, they do Skip, they do all the different ones. But if you want a good pizza, go. And they're open till midnight during the week and 2 in the morning on Fridays and Saturdays. So you want to watch the late night movies and have a pizza? Hey, they're there for you. Pete's Pizza, Victoria Avenue. Support our sponsors because they support the show, and we thank them for supporting the show. Okay, so we got Tony Baldinelli running against Kaiser, and then we got the Shannon Mitchell pulling up the rear here. And did you hear my survey I did?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. So what I did was on the way here, I drove and I started counting signs.
Okay.
Okay, Tony Baldinelli had 57% of the signs.
Okay.
Kaiser had 32%. And Shannon Mitchell brought up the rear with 10%.
Okay.
So I'm calling a majority for your Pierre Poilievre. But in the city here, a lot of people say that. They say, well, tell me what Tony Baldinelli has done for the city. And, it really makes me mad when they say that, because if you watch the parliamentary channel, and I do watch it quite often, Tony gets up every session and he's pulling for Niagara Falls, whether it's the hospitals in Fort Erie and Port Colborne retaining their emergency wards, whether it's the Blue Seal certification program to fast track people through the system so we have more doctors, whether it has to do with tourism, whatever is on the table that they need in this region. You were talking about Niagara on the Lake, too.
Yeah, well, excise tax. He's always arguing against the excise tax. In fact, the Conservatives want to get rid of that. That's an escalator tax on your liquor. So Justin Trudeau came up with this excise tax, which you don't really know about. A lot of people don't really know about it. And it goes up every year with inflation. So it's pegged to inflation. Now, they did cut it down the one year when inflation was like 8% or something. So they kept the excise increase at about 2%. But it's been about 2.5%, 3%, 4% every year. It goes up, it goes. And
that's automatic, right?
It's automatic every April 1st. Okay, this happens. You guys, you never know about it. You don't hear too much about it. It gets put in the newspaper for like one day, and that's it. Tony's been very vocal about that because it hurts our wine industry, and our wine industry is very important to us here. Okay, so that goes on, and that's compounded every year. So over the 10 years, or I can't remember how many years it's been in now, maybe 7 or 8.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been in for quite a while. No, we've had about a 20% tax increase on our booths, right? And that hurts our wineries and our local wine industry. So he's been very vocal about that. We had an issue with the Australians on some wine issues. He got in on that. That was I can't remember exactly. It was a tax of some sort where we were getting excluded. The Australians had an issue. He was very vocal on that. Worked very hard on that actually for our wineries, and he got the government to act on that. So Tony's been great. I'll tell you. I know politicians in this region here at every level, and to me, in my opinion, Tony Baldinelli is the best of them. He's always working. He cares about people. He'll come and talk to you. He's on the ground here. I hear a lot of people say they never seen. I never seen him. I don't know. I mean, you talk to small businesses in this area, they've all seen Tony. I mean, he may not go to everybody's door every other week, but when he's here in Niagara and not in Ottawa, Tony's out there. He's visiting people. He's talking to them, and he's getting their concerns and their issues. He's very good like that. I don't understand. People say I never seen him do anything. I never seen him around. He disappears. Well, no, he's in Ottawa actually for 6 or 7 months of the year, I guess, and whenever they're in session. But when he's here, I know for a fact he's out there
everywhere.
He's everywhere. He's doing functions. He's attending stuff. He's grand openings for businesses. He's there. I mean, Tony's a great on the ground politician. I'm actually a little baffled. To me, he's better than all the other ones. I don't know. Like maybe only Jim Diodati's more visible on a daily basis. Like as far as, but Jim's here every day, right? Tony's only here when, like I said, Ottawa's not in session. So I don't know. I don't agree with people who say that. I don't know where they but I will say this, okay? And I know Andrea and I like her, but she's a regional politician and she's not around. I haven't seen her, okay, ever. So on an issue. So you can take that for what it's worth. And she sits on regional council, and you would think that she would be more visible, especially being the only non-mayoral regional councilor in Niagara-on-the-Lake. And I haven't seen her on any issue, and I don't know anybody else. In fact, there was just a huge announcement at the Royal George Theatre. The province was putting in $35 million into renovation, and Andrea was not there for the announcement. Every other politician was. All the Niagara-on-the-Lake ones, all the Jim Bradley was there, Tony Baldinelli was there, Wayne Gates was there. There's a picture being taken, so he's got to be there. but I mean, they were all there, and she was not. So when I never understood that. He's as I said, if you take in politicians on at face value and how involved they are in their community, I don't see a better one at any level than Tony and what he advocates for here. I mean, Jim Diodati is great too. That way, he advocates for us. He's always in Niagara Falls corner. You see him all the time. He's great that way. But like I said, if Tony was here every day, you'd see a lot more of him. That's for sure, because that's just the type of guy he is. He's involved, right?
Yeah, and so he's the guy who gets up, and when Bernardo was going to the medium security or whatever, he was the first guy to stand up and start talking about that and saying that it can't happen. He's and when you call, like, this is why I don't get it. When you call the guy, he gets back to you like too sweet.
Yeah,
I didn't call him. I wanted a sign. I said, Tony, give me a sign. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did he get a sign right away there, he called me, and I said, hey, I want you to get PP, not only to drop the GST on Canadian-made new cars, but to drop it on used cars too, because we're sick of paying taxes down the line 10 times on one car. And he's he's laughing, but you never know with him. He might just tell him that, right?
Yeah,
but he called me back right away. The guy's right on the blower. I mean, I'm nobody special. He's just one of the guys out there.
Tony is really good like that.
He is.
Honestly,
really good.
You're not going to get a better. I don't care what party gets in. It doesn't. You're not going to get a better on the ground politician. That's it. It's that simple. And who cares about Niagara that way?
Now, Andrea Kaiser, she's a regional councilor, but what she's described as being an advocate of as a regional councilor is diametrically opposed to the Liberal platform. and she's going to be whipped to pull the platform, right? Mm-hmm. She's not going to be able to do what she wants.
No, I mean, she's going to be a backbencher.
Yeah, and I read her. If you go to her website, Andrea Kaiser, look at her, what she believes in or whatever, right? It doesn't make sense with the liberals. So I'm going, she's going to be whipped. And of course, I mean, Carney's whole campaign is based on plagiarizing Pierre Poilievre or Poilievre. Uh-huh. And it's got to be a French pronouncing that. Poilievre. I mean, I went to her website. She's kind of on the anti-Trump train, rallying against the orange bad man.
That's all they have. That's all they're campaigning on.
And those terrible tariffs, right?
That's all they're campaigning on. And if it wasn't for Trump, these guys would be losing this election by 20 points. And it's the only reason they are where they are, because somehow, like I said, some way the older Canadians have decided that the liberals are the best way to get back at Trump.
Well, it looks like the mountain they're going to live or die on.
I don't know, but they'd rather destroy their own country, which makes us actually more vulnerable to the Americans than having a strong economic platform and performance in being able to not care so much about what the Americans think. I don't understand the philosophy here and I'm speaking to you. I hope that we got some seniors listening today. Go. I hope we got kids listening too. Go tell your grandparents and your parents and your aunts and uncles to go vote for Pierre and Tony Baldinelli, because if they like you, you want a future. And I just want to give you a little bit of Andrea Kaiser here. So she was elected in 2022 as a regional councillor.
Yes.
2023, property tax increase 7.6%, water rates increase 8.59%, transit increase 7.5%. She voted yes to all of that. 2024, property tax increase of 7%, water rates at 7.9% increase, and transit at 5.57% increase. She voted yes to that. 2025, which is just this past year, 9.6% increase, 12.27, that's property tax. Water rates 12.27% increase. She voted yes to that, and 5.88% transit fee increase. She voted yes to that. Over the 3 years total that she's been there, she has voted yes to a 25% regional property tax increase. That's 25% of your regional portion of your property tax bill she voted for. Water rate increase. Your water rates are up 30%. 30% in 3 years, your water rates. And that, you got your sewer after that, right? Which is whatever it is, at 1 point whatever on top of
1.60 or something.
Who knows? But it's 30% increase for your water rates. I mean, you guys can't take a shower anymore. It's going to become the land of the great stink. Okay? I mean, this is crazy. Okay? Transit.
Now, hold it. That sounds like a liberal to me.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean? 20% increase for transit. Okay?
That's ridiculous.
Listen, that's on top of the already doubling of, prior to. So, she's not in this for you. Okay? If she was, she would have voted against this stuff, because none of this was necessary. Okay? None of it. So, and I don't know how many people have seen her. She's, like I said, a regional councillor. Who's seen her?
I don't even know who she is.
You wouldn't recognize her. She walked in the door
before the election.
Yeah,
I don't know who she is.
She's running. This is her third time running.
Yeah, and I never even knew who it was before that. And she owns businesses and that, but I don't know.
I don't know if they were very successful.
I don't know.
So I just want to say, like I said, I know Andrea. I like Andrea as a person. She's a fine person. No problem with that. But she's not a good politician, and she's not going to be a good rep for this area. That's that simple. It's that simple. You want to elect a rep, and that's it. And she's not going to be a good one.
Now, what about Shannon Mitchell? I don't know much about her. I've never met her. I don't see too many signs here and there. 10% of my sign survey that I did.
Are the NDP even running a campaign? It's like Jagmeet sold him out. I don't know. He's looking for a job later.
Well, Jimmy Dollywall, I mean, he's there just trying to say, listen, you need us in power. You need us in power to keep the Liberals in check. But meanwhile, 99% of the time, he voted with the Liberals. How's he going to keep them in check?
He extracts what he wants out of them. But here's the thing. He hasn't run a campaign until the last week. He didn't have any money. I don't know. I'm surprised they were able to afford any signs.
Yeah, no, he could. They got no money.
But I'll tell you this. Jagmeet, honestly, I think he's doing all this half-heartedly. I think he's purposely tanking the NDP to try to throw votes to the Liberals in order to stop a conservative victory. It's been polling-wise, it's been a fairly successful strategy up until now. Although things seem to be shifting a little bit. He may have overplayed his hand there because now he's out there, he's seeing the momentum going the other direction. And he's like, maybe I need, because the last few days he's been going after Carney a little bit. And the NDP is, I think he was just trying to set him up. Maybe he was going to get a job. He's a lawyer, right? So maybe he was trying to get a job with Brookfield in the States after. But who knows, right? Like, he tanks for Carney, and then Carney gets him a nice cushy job, for Brookfield, giving him a couple $100,000 a year on top of his pension.
He's got his full pension.
Yeah, well, he still wants more.
Yeah,
Jagmeet's a greedy guy. Well, don't think just because he's a socialist, he's not greedy. Listen, he's a champagne socialist, Maserati Marxist.
5 Rolex watches aren't enough.
Yeah,
one Maserati isn't enough.
Maserati Marxist.
That's it.
Champagne socialist.
The Raja of Rolex.
So, He's out there doing what he's doing. Shannon, I think she's a smart girl. I don't think she's dumb by any means. She's come up through different channels. She had I guess what you would consider a lower income life when she was younger growing up. She says she was in subsidized housing, all that stuff. Good for her. I'm happy for her. I don't agree with her politics. I think she's too much into the social agenda, the wokeism stuff. I don't necessarily think that she'd be a terrible person. I think that if the woke social agenda is your thing, you should probably give her a vote just to keep her in the game. That's what I would do if I was a woke guy. I couldn't vote conservative. I'd probably give her a vote rather than the Liberals, just because the Liberals wouldn't. I don't know. Carney's. I mean, what does he have in common with the socialists? That's why I never understood that. Like, the Liberals are elitists, right? They're elitists, actually. So their program doesn't really jive with the whole socialist thing. So I never really found that a natural marriage.
No.
That was I don't know. I've never seen the Liberals. That's why the income gap has gone so wide in this country. We have the have-nots, everybody under 40 years old, and we have the haves, everybody over 55. And the reason is because the liberal policy does that to people, right? It makes the people who don't have anything trying to make their way, it makes them have less. And the people who have stuff, who are able to recirculate it and regenerate income on it, makes them have more. I never understood that this idea that the Liberals somehow were for the little guy or the lower income people, because they're not at all, not even in the slightest. The people who've done the worst in the last 10 years are people who are middle to lower income, and the reason why they have is because the Liberals have shaking them down for everything they got.
Yeah, and they're gonna take your house too.
Oh, they're gonna take everything.
They want that $700,000 cut of that house that you got.
Well, that's coming. That's coming. But that's for the seniors. They're coming. They're coming for your seniors too, because they've given it to you. Now they want to take it back because they're gonna have to. If they don't, then we're gonna have real issues in this country.
So that's your 3 big parties around here. And I just, from what I've seen, that I don't think Tony Baldinelli's going to lose. Tony's going to win. He's going to represent Niagara. I don't know how you're feeling about it, but I really do think that he's going to win.
Well,
No problem.
well, it's going to be, it's always close. Even last election, it was, I mean, Tony ran a great campaign last election and he only won by 3,000 votes.
Yeah.
So it's not that's going to be a massive landslide or anything like that. But I think Tony's going to pull it off the way we have the last two elections that he's been in.
And losing Fort Erie is the thing that we have. That Fort Erie went to Niagara South.
Yeah.
And we don't have it with the Niagara Falls and Niagara Lake anymore, which kind of changes the
dynamic, right? But we did win polls in Fort Erie the last time around. But I think that we're going to do better in Niagara Falls than we did the last one.
To make up for it.
Yeah, to make up for it. Niagara on the Lake's the kind of the coin toss right now. I think that it's going to be closer in Niagara on the Lake than it was the last two elections. So we'll see. But like I said, I don't predict that Tony's going to have any issue. But you got to get out and vote if you want Tony to win.
No matter what.
You have to get Tony. You have to get out there. I think it's going to be close. So if you don't vote, you could actually just kind of hand it to the Liberals. We don't want that. So get out there and vote. Make sure you have your say. I don't want to hear anybody complaining if they didn't vote.
No, you got to get out and vote. Now 7.3 million people have voted, so that's a good thing. They pre-voted. I think that's so. That's everybody like 30%.
Yeah, everybody says so. The last time that happened was the first time Trudeau got elected with the majority, right? And everybody says, well, that favors the Liberals because of that. I tend to think differently. So people tend to vote early when they want something to change, right? They tend to go get their vote and make sure it's in so that nothing can happen on election day. That prevents them from
too big to rig.
That prevents them from voting. So I have a little bit of a different take on that. I think that early vote is going to go in our favor, in my favor being the Conservatives. I think that's going to go into the Conservative favor just because, I think that people vote early when they've got a reason to, like when they're so the last two elections, 2019 and 2021, there wasn't a huge early turnout. It was okay, but we had very low turnout elections also, right? And people are saying, well, because of that, because it was a low turnout election, and this looks like it's going to be a high turnout election, it favors the Liberals too because they won. The Conservatives were more competitive in the low turnout elections. That's not necessarily true either because in high turnout elections, you have a lot of young people voting. Now, the young people in 2016 or 14 voted for Trudeau. The young people these days polling very heavily in the favor of the Conservatives. It's the first time that Conservatives are winning the under 40 by that kind of margin. It's very, very encouraging. I hope that they get out in droves and vote. I hope they've all been early voting, and I hope that they've been talking to their parents and grandparents and telling them, "What are you doing to me? Don't destroy this country. Just because you're not going to be here doesn't mean I don't got to be. You know what I mean? I got to be here." So, we want to help them. Like, we said that early turnout, I think, is going to go into the Conservative favor. That's my opinion.
Okay, what I'm going to talk about next, what we're going to talk about for the last 10 minutes here, after I do my third sponsor, is paths to victory. What do you see as PP's path to victory? What do you see as Carney's path to victory? What do you see as Jagmeet Singh's path to victory? We'll talk about that in a minute. Think about it, and I'm going to talk about Hamel Machine Company. Been around Niagara Falls since 1948, and every industry in any city needs good machine shops to help them out. When things break down, time is money, and they need things fixed. If they can't get them fixed swiftly, they're losing money every second the clock ticks. So what do? They go to local machine shops like Hamel, been around since 1948, helping industry. If something breaks down in your restaurant and you need a part, Chris, you can't wait forever. You got to take it somewhere to get it fixed. and it's Hamill Machine Shop. That's the place that people take things. Whether it's big industry like the wine industry, like Rich Products in Fort Erie, whether it's the city, the region, or even us guys at home. You break something at home, you shear a pin on your snowblower, you need it fixed. They do it. They do all that stuff. They can fix things like that. Milling, machining, lathing, 3D computer printing, you name it, they can do it. They can reverse engineer parts that you break. Hamill Machine Company since 1948 in Niagara Falls, serving everybody. Hey, you need a new set of gates for your backyard to keep out those door shakers. Guess what? They can design them, fabricate them, and then help you to put them up, powder coat them, whatever you need. Hamill Machine Company. Go to hamillmachine.ca to see the awesome things they do. They're innovators, they're inventors. They help industry run faster, more efficient, and sometimes they invent things they ship all around the world for different industries. So you want to take care of them. Thank you for taking care of our sponsors. Tell them Paul from Your City Your Voice sent you, and we appreciate that. Okay, PP, what's his path to victory here?
I think I think that he's got a really good shot at victory. Toronto proper, the GTA, Montreal, like Quebec overall, if the Bloc can kind of knock down the Liberal vote, and Atlantic Canada. I mean, that's where it's at, right? So you're fighting it out there. I think I saw a very comprehensive poll yesterday that really drilled down into some things. In the last couple of days, he's got to frame himself as the guy who he's got to get a little bit stronger now and frame himself as the guy that can take on Trump. He's got to frame himself as the guy who's going to get out of people's lives and do the stuff that he needs to do to fix the economy here, because the economy is broken. And he's got to make sure that Mark Carney is looking like the guy who is just here as part of his overall resume, which is what he's been doing his whole life, is resume building. Who knows what he wants to do afterwards, after he's Prime Minister of Canada, but he's going to have to find something to do, and I think he just wants it on his resume.
See, well, I look at BC and I say BC is la la land, so I have no clue what they're going to do. Now, the West, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, they're blue.
Yeah.
We got Ontario, which is a place where PP is going to have to make his bones. If he don't make his bones in Ontario, Northern Ontario, no problem. But Toronto, that's the big one.
Well, Toronto's got 50 seats, right? So, I mean,
that's the big one.
You got to win a few seats there. You have to. I don't know. At least if you want a majority government, you have to. That's a guarantee. Minority government, you can get away with a little bit less in Toronto. Around BC's looking good for Conservatives. Actually, we're polling good. Very well there. Awesome. The Ontario, like I said, there's those pockets of liberal seats that are traditionally liberal. They were going PP's way before Trump made his 51st state comments, and then after that, it kind of went the other way because the older people got scared. I don't know what happened. They messed up their depends. But anyways, and then they and like Ottawa, the Ottawa region in particular, I'm hoping that we can knock Carney off in his seat. It's going to be very tough to do. If Barbara Ball there can, it was polling, it was looking pretty good for a while there. Carney may have come back a little bit. There's a lot of rumors that Pierre's in trouble in his riding, but look, it's not gonna happen. Pierre's not losing his riding. The issue with Pierre's riding is, so they had some guy put 91, the same guy nominated like 91 people or put him on the ballot there, and so he's got it's the longest ballot. It's like that. It's crazy that was allowed to happen. Elections Canada should have stopped that. So that'll confuse some people. But I really think that the polling, okay, so look, traditionally, here's the facts. So the last 2 elections, polling, Conservatives have been underpolled the last day of the, I've looked at last day of the election before voting day each time. Overall, conservatives were underpolled, so we always outperformed the polling by about 2.5 to 3.5%, depends. So, like the final result was always 2.5 to 3.5. That happened both times. Liberals were never either; they were either overpolled or they were right on with the Liberals. It just happened. So, and I think the tendency is because conservatives tend to not answer polling, and they don't tend to participate in online polling. So it's just it's a little thing there. There are about 7 from the last poll that I saw. There's about 7% of the voters are undecided. We're fighting for those right now. They tend to break conservative, the undecideds. At least they have the last 2 elections, and we win those by about it comes in at about 40. We win about 40% of those. The Liberals win about 31% of those. We outpoll them usually with the undecideds about 9%. So there's those 2 factors, and I think honestly, I think that the overall polling has been off a little bit. I will say this though: if it turns out that Pierre, and we don't feel so, a lot of people out there, a lot of conservatives out there, they don't feel like the polls are representative of what's going on the ground. Everybody's kind of bewildered at how the polling could be showing X when they're at the doors and they're talking to people and they're seeing Y, right? So that's the path to victory is just keeping getting your vote out and think, and you got to leave it up to the people. The people are gonna take care of it for you. You just got to get your message out, and you got to make sure that Canadians can understand that the future depends on. You have to hit that report that came out of the Privy Council's office, the Prime Minister's Privy Council office, that showed a dystopian future for Canada if we stay on the same trajectory we're in. If we stay on that by 2040, the things that they predict will happen in this country are devastating. And you have to look at that and say, do I want that for my kids and grandkids? Do I want that? My answer is no, right? So I don't know what anybody else's answer is, but you have to look at that.
Yeah, we saw it in the States. I mean, Trump mobilized all the Republicans, and he won by a landslide. And I personally think that Pierre's going to get a majority government. I mean, I look at these rallies like the one Gary went to, and there's 5,000 people, 10,000 people.
Doesn't happen in Canada.
Now, yeah, that's unusual for Canada.
Yeah.
That is really weird because we just don't do that kind of stuff. Our politicians aren't icons like a guy like Trump is, or a guy like Kennedy was, or Ronald Reagan was. When you start seeing these kind of numbers, it's amazing. People want to come out and listen to him. When he was leaving for his bus, they were yelling at him and singing "Oh Canada" and everything. Like I think this is a little bit bigger than the left-wing media polls are saying.
Yeah.
And then I think you're right about that. And if I should say we, but if PP can mobilize this movement, I think he's going to win a majority. And that's the wild card to me.
There are motivated. So it takes motivation for a voter to get up and go to a rally, especially if it's half an hour or an hour away, and line up outside
for an hour, a couple hours.
Yeah. So there is a very motivated voter base for the Conservatives. Right?
There is.
If they're very motivated, more signs than ever, more volunteers than ever, more people at rallies than ever. So that's the thing. Like it doesn't feel like the polls are representative. And I'll say this: if the Conservatives do end up winning a majority government, one of the first things Pierre should do is direct the RCMP to conduct an investigation in polling manipulation and election interference. He should definitely do that and investigate all these companies, all these polling companies that come out with this, with this stuff. I would that would be one of the first things I do, because it would have been malpractice with intent, like a malintent That's like it's a criminal offense. Like you're trying to screw up an election. It's ridiculous.
Treason, sedition.
So if the polling is completely wrong, I would definitely, that's what I would be doing. Yeah. I don't know that it is. We'll see.
My number one, cut off funding from the CBC.
Yeah.
That would be my number one. You're done.
Well, they're going to be done anyways.
You're fired.
But if Pierre wins the majority, that's fine. If it's a minority, I can see how that works both ways. A liberal minority too, I can see how that works. Liberals' path to victory.
I was going to ask you, Carney's path to victory.
Carney's path to victory is just what they've been campaigning on. Yeah. The orange man bad down south.
Yeah, that's
it.
I just don't see that as a viable platform.
They can't do it on the economics. I know Carney's trying to portray like his plan's actually gonna make growth. It's not. So he's spending $230 billion. It's more than Trudeau, for crying out loud. More than Trudeau. Worse than Trudeau. I didn't think I would ever see anything worse than Trudeau, but here it is.
Well, he makes me laugh because he says, I'm the only one that can handle Trump. Meanwhile, 77 countries are negotiating with Trump. Gabriella Meloni from Italy came over, and she handled Trump perfectly. They got along fabulously. And he's got the guy from Norway there now, and all these other countries are coming to talk to him. So what gives Carney the idea that he's the only person that can handle Trump?
Yeah. And why can Norway, I just want to make this point too, why can Norway walk into the White House and have no issues dealing with Trump?
Because they have an attitude.
And not have, it's more than that. And not have Trump sit there and bitch and complain about Norway taking advantage of them. Why do you think Norway can do that? Why? Because they have a $1.7 trillion sovereign wealth fund, from their oil and gas.
Wow, they could pay our debt.
So they could. That's no. So they're a very powerful small country, very powerful, and they don't need anybody. So Trump's got nothing to hold over them. And as Canadians, we need to be saying to ourselves, well, that should be us.
Yes.
We've got all these resources. We only have 41 million people. We've got the second largest country in the world. We have the third most natural resources on the planet. Why aren't we in that position?
Well, we've had shoddy leadership.
Well, there you go. Right? So,
a little country like Norway.
But let's hire Carney to put us further into debt and weaken us further. Yeah. Because that'll give us more negotiating power, right?
No,
it won't. So Trump, the Americans, they understand strength. You have to be strong in order to deal with them. It's just that simple.
Now, what about Jagmeet Singh? What's his path to victory?
He's not. He's got an exit strategy is what he's got.
Yeah, what he's doing is he's just trying to keep their party status. That's what he's trying to do.
At this point,
use us to make sure the big bad liberals don't, but that's not going to work. He voted with them 99% of the time. Yeah. Jagmeet is done. He's done in his own riding. This is his swan song, and in a couple of days, we won't have to see him anymore. And his party, Tommy Douglas and Jack Layton are rolling over in their graves right now. That's all I can say.
He's out for Jagmeet. He don't care about anybody else. Otherwise, he would have called this election in December.
Yes.
That NDP would have been official opposition. If he really cared about his party or cared about the people in it, he would have done that in December because he would have been official opposition and the Liberals would have been like out of party status almost.
Yeah.
So, if he's got an exit plan. That's what he's got. He's got his young daughter now. He's got his pension. He's gonna have a cushy job when he gets out. He'll find a job. Probably, like I said, going to be a consultant for Brookfield or whatever.
Yeah, Brookfield or whatever.
And he's handing the Liberals an extra 3 points in the polls, 3 to 5 points. That's it. That was his job. That's what he's done. That's why the Liberals are even close in this election. Because he handed them his people, and that's it. He hasn't really run a campaign. He doesn't have any money to. If I was the Conservatives, I would have given him some money to run a campaign. But anyways, like just the way the Liberals give Max Bernier money. So anyways, that's what I would have done. I would have done that and had him run a campaign. But anyways, at the end of the day, I'm hoping that some of those NDP voters that understand that Mark Carney is an elitist. He's not out for anybody other than the guys at the top of the chain there, and he'll get some of his voters back, and I hope he gets a few seats of the NDP seats back. We need him to right now.
So all I see is Carney sitting on the Trump mountain, and he's going to die on that hill.
Yep.
He's going to die on that hill. He's going to win on that hill or die on that hill. And I don't think he's going to win on it. Now, any other party that could, Blanchette's out there. We got to admit that for Quebec. He's a factor, and I love this guy.
So the polling has shifted. I don't mind Blanchette. He's not a bad leader. I really don't like some of his fly, like this anti-oil and gas thing. This stuff.
Yeah, I don't get that at all.
He's so anti. I mean, it's creepy actually how anti he is on it. But I will say that it looks like the polling has shifted a bit. The momentum's gone away from the Liberals a little bit. If this election was another week longer, I think the Liberals would fade fast because they're fading now. The polling has really tightened, and I think it's going to tighten over the next couple of days too. But I think when it comes down to it, I think that the Bloc's going to get some action in Quebec. I think they're going to be able to maintain. They may not increase, but I think they'll be able to maintain what they have. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I'm guessing, but I think that they'll be able to maintain what they have there, and maybe knock the Liberals down in a few other ridings. I don't know though. We'll see. It's election day now, coming up. The polling's been kind of all over the place and unreliable from what I'm seeing and how I'm talking to people. So I don't know. I just don't know.
You want to make a prediction? Who's going to win this baby?
I'm predicting a conservative minority at this point.
Okay, minority. Okay. Well, I can see that happening. I can see a liberal minority because they've given sweetheart deals to all the public service unions. They've given sweetheart deals and given so much money to special interest groups. They brought 10 million immigrants in and gave them all the right to vote, right? So, and then you got your liberals who just, because their father or something voted for liberal, they're going to vote liberal no matter what. So it's really, really, they're going to be tough to displace because they have bought and paid for the media, which is on their side.
Yep.
So they've got a lot of things that are set in stone that they're not going to lose. So we got to hope that some of these groups, whether it's the special interest groups or the offshore people or the public service unions, whoever decide, listen, we've had enough of this in Canada and we're going to jump ship a little bit here. So, you're right. It's a toss.
I think there's so many seats that are so close that I think it comes down to we get people out and that's it. There's so many ridings that are so close, and it's all about the vote coming out on election day. At this point, it looks like if the voting trend continues, we're going to get 71% voter turnout, which is huge for Canada. That's absolutely immense.
Beautiful for us. Not us for pure PP.
Well, it is, but. So I really think it's going to be a conservative minority, and then Cory Tenecky's and Doug Ford's dreams of being prime minister will fade into the background for a while.
Yeah. Good, he's a blue liberal. I'm going to call a majority, and the reason I am is because I see a movement here. I don't trust the polls; they're all run by left-wing media and bullshit. Sorry about my language, but BS. For you kids that are listening, I don't think any kids are listening by now, but I'm calling that, and I think there's a movement here. People have had enough of the conservatives, and they're going to show up, like you say, in droves. They've already have, and what they're going to do is they're going to throw these liberal bums out, and they're not just going to throw them out a little bit. No, they're going to throw them out. So I'm taking a majority. We'll see how it washes out on Monday.
All right, let's see. It's going to be interesting.
It will be. I'll be watching. On that note, I'm getting out of here. Thank you for coming in, Chris.
No problem.
We've gone through it all. I think now get out and vote, everybody. Right?
Yes, get out and vote, especially if you're voting conservative. If you're liberal, stay home. But if you're going out, vote conservative.
Vote and vote often.
Yes.
Take your grandmother, take your dog, take your pet.
We got to change trajectory of this country. We got to change. It's all about the change now. We got to change what's going on. If you're happy with the last 10 years, stay home. If you're not happy, get out and vote for conservatives.
My name is Paul K. Lemire. This is
Your City, Your Voice.
on 4680Q Radio, coming to you Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday at noon. And on Wednesdays, of course, we do Habsolutely with the Habs. Have a great weekend, everybody. Think about your vote. Vote wisely, please. And support our sponsors, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop, Hamilton Machine Company, and Pete's Pizza on Victoria Avenue. Signing off. Have a great weekend. Think about who you're going to vote for. And number one, get your butt off the couch and go and vote, please. Yes. This is an important one.
Very important. Very important for this country.
This is the one we need. Let's go. Come on. Get out there and vote. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you. God bless you all. Get out and vote. That's my last word.